What's up? Huh? We got a couple of ham bones, especially this one right here. She comes up, you does it if you're working, you're doing something, and talking to somebody, she'll gently come up and then start going, pulling at your jeans with a little mouth. And then she'll step up on your leg with her paws on your leg like a little dog and beg for attention. It's pretty funny. The cute factor's off the chart. But anyway, so much to do here. It's finally not raining for the first time in a long time. Of course, as soon as you leave and go away, all hell breaks loose every single time. So I leave, this roof starts pouring water on top of all the work I did back there. And then there's a leak in the house over top of the bathroom. What else? It's just endless. So I got my work cut out for me while I'm back. Lots of stuff to do. So much. But nothing stops me from doing this. This is my little morning coffee time out. And I just let these two clowns out of their pen, which has got to be changed today. Oh my God. Yeah. Horse stalls today and drop off the quad. Here's another one. So, while I was way up north, I'm in the middle of nowhere, and if anybody was following those videos, but I would start my day off about a 45-minute pickup truck ride, and then I would do about a 45-minute quad ride, which is a long ways if you were to walk that distance by foot. And it was around -15, -18. And I remember thinking to myself, thank God I got a brand new dependable quad. Well, I broke the ramp to get the quad back in the truck at the end of the trip. So I literally had to jimmy this thing up and put a strap in the front of the box, run the winch cable from the quad to the front of the truck, and I slowly winch the quad into the truck. Till that point, the quad had worked properly, perfectly, flawlessly the whole time. But I remember thinking, when I was the farthest distance from the truck, thinking, oh man, if this quad ever broke right now, I would be in some serious trouble, right? Although I did have electronic service to get to contact someone for an emergency. But anyway, so that's all I did. I winched the quad into the truck because the ramp was broke. I got it home, I started it up, give it gas, and it barely even moves. Just like that. I'm like, what? So that's a little alarming. It makes me a little somewhat gun shy of a brand new quad right now for next year, but I got to take that in to get the warranty work done on it today as well, which means I gotta go. Anyways, I got a lot of stuff to do, but that was really alarming about the quad issue, right? A little alarming, and I'll be talking to those guys about that once I get into that shop. That's not good. Now, as long as these guys don't crunch me, there's a bunch of shares here that I need to get shared all the time. I need to get them shared, but this one really strikes home because it's in my backyard. I think everybody's pretty excited about a little rain this morning. We're all jumping around like a bunch of frickin' energy loaded wackos. Anyway, listen to this. I've sent this to both email addresses to make it stick out. Yeah, everybody does that. I wish they wouldn't, for real, because everybody's emails does get got to. That doesn't make any sense. Not even a way to make a sentence. But everybody's email will get to. We will be gotten to. All right. And when everybody does that, they send their email to all the email addresses they can find through the domain howtohunt.com, and it's a pain in the ass. And you got to think about it. That doubles up the space taken in an email. That doubles it up, because not one person isn't the first one to come up with that. So if you guys are listening, if you're about to get up the courage to make your share, you want to get something off your chest, share some knowledge, just send it once, all right? That'll actually make me get to it sooner. Because if so many people send that same email 2 or 3 times, that's 2 or 3 times the amount of emails clogged up into the email inbox to get to them. Okay, so please, you guys, try not to do that, all right? Because it doesn't help get them read sooner. Everybody's in line, and that doesn't put you ahead of anybody, all right? Now, here we go. Host you and follow your channel for a couple, 3 years now. I've had many unusual experiences starting as a young child. The first significant one you read in my share titled Pink Mountain and the Kootenays. This may get long and I'm not sorry. Something I didn't mention about pink was that a couple of years the black bear population was crazy. A couple of years ago, I'd imagine that meant to say. Several bears unfortunately had to be dispatched and they were often taken to the dump by my grandfather and I. The day I had that experience, I had noticed right away that there was only one bear, when there should have been about 5 or 6. I never gave it any thought until you mentioned the bear population in the sea to sky diminishing. A couple other things I didn't mention. I was only 12 or 13, but I noticed that I would experience 2 separate types of fear. One was a fear that my mind would generate from being frightened of the unknown from within when walking through the bush. The second was a fear that was clearly projected into me from an outside source. The feelings that scared us out of the dump were heavily projected onto us, but I don't feel it was threatening. I now believe it was either a warning of us of unseen threat or wanted that bear for itself. In the following couple of years in Kelowna, I've seen 2 balls of blue light. Both are within 50 feet and I could hear them cracking, not unlike static. They both looked like a scrabbled ball of barbed wire. The first one was about the size of a basketball and the second was about the size of a compact car. There were no preceding or following circumstances that seemed related. The next 2 major experiences happened in the Birkin and Mount Currie areas. And that's where I've been living for the past 18 years or something. One of the 100 or so times that I'd been to the very end of the 8-mile road of Gims Road, we got out of my truck to walk to the toe of the massive Abbey chutes. That's an avalanche chute. Immediately, it was projected upon me to get back and leave now. That would have been later in June when we could first drive that far back. I had sensed presence in this general area on a few occasions before and after, but not negatively. The other significant time was hiking to camp at Upper Joffrey Lake. Not threatening, just maybe an acknowledgement of presence. One more time, I'll assume you know the gate in the Sioux Valley and that trail and the waterfall. Not every time, but on a couple occasions, I'm sure that we were being watched and followed. Again, just feelings of presence projected on me. All right, so this is what I can tap into that. So the gate at the head of the Sioux there, I've been back there solo a few times and full on felt absolute pressure back there the whole time. I've also had numerous people tell me of sightings in the head of the Sioux Valley, the whole length of the Sioux Valley, as well as bright lights. The Joffrey Lakes area. Remember the First Nations guy who works for the Mount Currie Band? I ran into him near the new site, we call it, and he told me of running into a Sasquatch at Joffrey Lakes, and he told me flat out he doesn't go near there anymore. I also know a Caucasian lady who grew up in Pemberton, and she told me of being there camping at Joffrey Lakes with a large group of people, 9 people, and they all saw a large, dark, huge being come right over top of the glacier and drop down into the same side they were in, and they all couldn't sleep all night long. You felt like they were stared at from the dark forest beside them. And they said that no human being could have walked that pace and that distance without stopping as that thing did at last light they were watching at Joffrey Lakes. 8 Mile is where my friend's son was driving home, and there was a being on the low side of the road and towering over his truck, standing on the lower side of the road down the bank, and he had to drive by it. Its eyes reflected back at him, and it was grayish, charcoal gray, huge, and really messed him up. From that experience, what else? Birkenhead Lake, non-stop. It's non-stop at Birkenhead Lake. The whole corridor, non-stop. Sorry about that little interruption, we'll get back onto it, but I thought I'd make touches on there. Now, Kootenays. Besides smashing the trees and breathing growls coming from the tree line as we dressed the elk I shot, I didn't have any other significant happenings, except for this. I've never shared this full story with anyone. One night late, my girlfriend and I were hanging out at our house in Trail that was 2 blocks from the Columbia River. I'd fallen asleep. Note that I've been an extremely light sleeper my entire life. She could not wake me up, period. Not for lack of trying. I eventually woke to find she wasn't in the house, but the dog was, which I found unusual. It was snowing heavily, so I got bundled up to go looking for her. Fortunately, I was able to follow her tracks as it was 2 or 3 a.m. I found her curled up asleep under a tree on the bank of the river. I was able to wake her, but she had no idea where or how she got there. Shaken by this, we went home and to sleep. In the morning, we noticed that both of us, on the webbing between the thumb and index, 3 little red dots in perfect triangle that looked like injection marks, for lack of a better term. To this day, we joke about being abducted. However, I have never given much to the ET phenomenon. Okay, that's a little alarming. Anybody can tap into that if that knee-jerks a memory or an experience that you had similar to that. Let's hear about that one. All right, that's a little frickin' alarming. So this past August, I apparently contracted pneumonia and ended up in the ICU in a coma. Holy shit. In the week leading up to a respiratory failure, oops, I was having extremely vivid and sometimes prophetic dreams. They started out giving me the impressions of sickness and death. Early one morning, in that I half asleep and awakened dream state. Okay, wait a minute. Early one morning, in that half asleep and awake dream state, something's trying to impress a word on me, which was thrombosis. The next day or so, it happened again. This time was Grixkrignos. Grixcrignos. And I was told its meaning was the resetting of a soul. What the actual F is going on here, right? Well, within a couple days, I noticed that my legs were horrifically red and swollen. Thrombosis. The next morning, I was admitted to the ICU and given a 10% chance of survival. I was put in heavy coma for 4 days while they cleaned my lungs. The 3 or 4 days following being awoken was easily the worst time of my life. I coughed up 4 liters of phlegm in that time, and I was so wore out, I was certain I was dead. I know how much I coughed up because I had a sucker that filled a 4-liter receptacle. This one night, I was so worn out I gave up. I easily just stopped breathing and waited for death. I physically felt my heart stop. My vision faded from black to bright white. As the white was brightening into a seemingly light, I felt an electrical jolt from the base of my skull to my chest, and my stupid heart came back online. LOL. What the F? Grixkrignos? The next morning, my dad was visiting, and I told him that I was finished. I had no fight left, and I was just gonna die. Obviously, he was less than impressed. I told the same thing to the doctor and physiotherapist, told him to beat it and let me die. At 3 o'clock, shift changed. A new group came in, including a nurse. I insist now is my guardian angel. She came in and simply told me I wasn't going to die on her. She was going to take care of me. At this point, I didn't have the strength to even sit up or roll over. She did, and I mean everything for me. She had me walking to the bathroom that afternoon. I was discharged on October 6th and seem to be fully recovered so far. I'm so sick of this world's BS right now. I'm moving back to Whistler area to live with my brother off grid. I left the mountains for 3 years and it literally killed me. What prompted me to write you was out of sheer boredom. I watched the documentary Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. Steve, if you haven't seen this, you absolutely have to. It is far from what I and possibly you might have imagined. I've never been interested in this topic simply because of the crazies it brings out. My body felt totally electrified for at least half of it due to the things I was hearing that made everything I experienced become crystal effing clear. I'll give you significant insight into many of the questions you/our roundtable of knowledge is seeking. I'm 44, I grew up in BC with a passion for hunting, fishing, and generally anything outdoors. Fortunately, I haven't let any of these experiences scare me out of the bush. I, like many, look forward to your videos daily, so please keep them coming. I can only hope for the awakening of the masses, which we so desperately need to see is out from under the control of these sociopathic, narcissistic Fs. Stay awesome, Dan. Dan, thanks for that, man. Glad you made it. And without a doubt, that nurse was your guardian angel, and that even helps me be even more angry because our local health so-called experts have labeled our first responders who were heroes yesterday are now being targeted as the problem, the source of people dying. They're killing people because they refuse to get that mandatory vaccination, which we all know is bullshit. Not so much the vaccination, the way they're going about it. You do not force a medical procedure on anybody in the free world. You just don't. And there's a lot going on today that's absolutely wrong. A while ago, well, what do we do? What can we do? What can we do? And just so you guys all know, I know I'm going on a little bit of an off-topic tangent, but oh well, it'll just be for a minute. But yes, I am in contact with numerous people at all times. I'm trying to be in contact and talk to them as much as I can as I'm doing everything else, all right? And trying to figure out a way to make things better and come up with a recipe of what to do. And, oh, there goes a big buck running right across my back 40. And there is something you can all do. And there is a handful of people that are coming up with the recipe, and once it's smoothed and right out, then possibly you can deliver that to the people and let you have at it and decide on what, if it will help, what you can do to help. All right? Sorry, babbling. I've had 2 coffees. Anyway, yeah, we're doing lots. There's a lot of people doing lots, just so you guys know, and there is something you can all do. But first we got to get the very intelligent, informed people to come up with that recipe, iron out the wrinkles, and then deliver it to all of you to take part in. All right, what do we got? I'm going to do one more, then I'm going to get my butt moving, and then I'm going to do this again later today, because I like doing it. It needs to be done. And another thing, too, that you got, a lot of you might not understand or see is, if you could look at possibly, if you have the chance, just have a little glance at some of the similar channels that cover similar topics, and look at the attention they get. And then you look at the attention that this channel gets, and it's quite substantial, right? Considering we don't ever try to encourage anyone to like, subscribe, and share, and even come here. This channel is not marketed or promoted anywhere, ever. If you have access to my other social media I use for hunting and angling, the Instagram, ProGuide66 on Instagram, or my Facebook pages, I do not even share one of these videos ever on my social media. It's just, I mean, I'm saying as an example that this is not promoted. Now, knowing that, then how come it's become so popular? How come it's gaining traction every single minute of the day? I 100% believe it is because it's the voice of the people. The voice of the people is held up here on this channel, and that's where the power is. And this channel, this topic, it's easily proven. It's easily proven what happens when the people are listened to and focused on. And that's a scary thing for the people who want to control all of you. Because right here, people are not controlled, people are listened to, the people are priority here. And now you can make that on a larger scale. I mean, look at how popular and the strength of this channel right now, this group of people. There's over 3.5 million views on this one channel a month on average in climate, right? Now, and that's on a topic that is so tiny and so unpopular on the face of the planet. Imagine if you could get the focus on all the people and their voices when it comes to the bigger topics. Now that is absolutely terrifying to the people who want to control your asses, right? That's a bit of a babble. God, I gotta get reading. Obviously, I've been away for a while, and once I get home, I get absolutely exposed to what's going on the planet, and it gets my brain ripping. Okay, so I'm 55 years old. I've been an outdoor tech my whole life. I've had one experience when I noticed trees about 4 inches in diameter, 7 feet off the ground, halfway snapped off and all bent outwards from a circle. I'm an avid listener, and the extrasensory stuff these creatures are reported to have is mind-blowing. So here's my issue. I was watching a different Sasquatch show, and the host is talking about how his tent was pushed down on him. Bam! just like that, I remember the same thing happening to me. I always take vacation the week after Labor Day because the woods and campgrounds are usually empty. I was totally alone in tent camping at Baker Lake when I had my tent slowly pushed down on me and then let back up with a pop. This happened probably 5 or 6 times, like it was entertaining to the big guy. What is incredible is that I was amused while it was going on. I heard him walk away. I got out of my tent and then went to my truck so I could light up the area. I watched an 8 to 9 foot tall Sasquatch slowly stroll out of view, and just as he disappeared, I swear to Christ, he halfway waved. But I did not remember any of this until I heard someone talk about their tent being pushed down slowly on them. Can this happen? Can they blank our memory out? Why would they do this when nothing bad happened to me? The whole thing now that I'm recalling it is quite amusing. That was my feelings, I think. Never scared the least bit. I'm really confused. I like to think that this really happened, that I'm not kidding myself, just to convince my inner self that I had the encounter. What a head trip. But at least it's all positive. My heart goes out to those who have had negative encounters. That's definitely not that's not a common experience shared or feelings, right? The pushing down of the tents happens so many times it's frickin' ridiculous. Do they blank out their memory? I think possibly we blank out our own memory. Does it have something to do with adrenaline? A natural instinct for preservation? I don't know, maybe possibly. But I think I'm swaying more towards it's probably how we are made up. And it probably has something to do with how we protect ourselves, is why a lot of people blank things out, right? Because it's not just with this topic. It's with children who've had traumatic experiences as a child and later in life it's brought out and they had put it to sleep, put it away, possibly to protect themselves psychologically so they can keep on growing, possibly in a positive direction. I don't know. I haven't studied that myself. But anyway, goofy little bastards. All right, what do we got here? Hi, Steve. Oh, better mark this as red so I don't get in trouble. Hi, Steve. My name is Terrence Wibbins, and I like your videos and appreciate all the knowledge that you share on all subjects. Like you, I also have my secret honey holes when it comes to going after big black-tailed bucks. I live in Eugene, Oregon, and hunt the coastal mountains and the high Cascades. 2 years ago, I hiked into one of my spots using my headlamp to make my way about 5 miles through the brush to my spot. 5? That's a frickin' long ways, man. I was a little generous in how much time I'd given myself, so I still had about 40 minutes of total darkness before the sun would be coming up. I turned off my headlamp and sat down and started feeling uneasy. On the way in, I had seen eye shine several times, but would take the light off right away as to not spook any potential shooters, so I really didn't give it much thought. I'm usually calm and carefree in the woods, but was feeling like I shouldn't be there. All of a sudden, there was the deepest, eeriest, loud, guttural yell, followed by another one almost simultaneously across the canyon miles away. I've heard every sound from every creature that I know exists, and this wasn't any, nor was it possible that humans could have made the noise. Now I was pretty spooked and it was getting daylight. I found myself making my way back to where I'd parked. I would stop every once in a while and it was eerily void with all nature's sounds. Very strange. When I got to the road, I went down the road to the left where my car was, but found out that I had somehow got turned around and I had to take a right to get back to my car. Strange. I still hunt the same way I always have, but I'm definitely not as at ease in the woods like I used to be. I know it's not much of a story, but it did happen, and I believe. Thanks for sharing all the knowledge that you do, and I'd go hunting with you any day. That's saying a lot, since there aren't a lot of people that I could say that about. Keep the bids coming. Thanks, Terrence. Okay, Terrence, thanks, man. Totally get it, totally relate. And the being turned around thing is alarming. When you are absolutely experienced in the woods, I've been turned around once or twice, and it really was, it's a concerning feeling when you're alone and you get turned around, right? Because I don't get turned around, and you know what happens if you are susceptible to getting turned around or lost. It's not good, especially when you're that far back. I would not I would not dump that spot. You keep going back there. You just go with your gut instincts and feel the pressure, right? If I had to dump all my spots because of feeling pressure, it wouldn't be too cool. I'd be at loss. I wouldn't have anything to do. So I found that if I keep going back and feel the pressure and it feels good, I keep going, and then not all is lost, right? Then I can still hunt those beautiful places, still go to them, but I rely on my sixth sense, my gut instincts, to keep me safe and make my mind up with every single decision, right? Anyway, thanks for sounding that in, man. If you come across any knowledge that people need to hear, make sure you get it in, and good luck to you chasing those big, huge blacktail bucks. Here we go, getting on with the day.